You've definitely seen that logo, right? On the news or maybe on aid trucks in places that need help. But what is the United Nations really? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and find out how it started, what it does, and why it matters. All right, here's our game plan. We'll start with why the UN was even needed in the first place. Then, we'll look at how it was built, how the whole thing works, what its big mission is, and finally, what the UN is actually up to today. So to really get why the UN exists, we've got to jump back in time. Because right before it was created, the world was going through one of its absolute darkest moments. We're talking about World War II. This wasn't just another war. It was a global catastrophe. It's estimated that over 70 million people died. Entire cities were just gone, turned to rubble. The entire world was exhausted and knew that things had to change, and fast. You know, they'd actually tried something like this before, an organization called the League of Nations. But, well, it failed. It couldn't prevent World War II. So this time, world leaders knew they couldn't just patch up the old system. They had to build something totally new, something stronger, with the power to actually stop conflicts before they could explode. So literally, as the dust was still settling from the war, leaders from across the globe came together to build something completely new, right from the ground up. In April of 1945, while the war was still in its final, brutal months, representatives from 50 different countries all met in San Francisco. They had one single massive mission: design an organization that could stop another world war from ever happening again. It took 2 intense months of debates, arguments, and negotiations, but they did it. In June of 1945, they created and signed the founding document of the United Nations. Think of the UN Charter as a giant contract for the world. It's the official rulebook. Every country that joins the UN agrees to sign this charter, promising to follow the rules, like solving problems peacefully and respecting human rights, to help build a safer world. Okay, so we have this big idea, but how does the UN actually work? Let's look under the hood. It's got a few main parts, and each one has a really specific job. First up, you've got the General Assembly. This is the closest thing we have to a world parliament. It's this huge meeting where all 193 member countries come together to debate the planet's biggest challenges, everything from poverty to climate change. And here is what's really amazing about the General Assembly. It doesn't matter if you're a huge country or a tiny island nation. Everyone is equal here. One country, one vote. That's a huge deal. Next, we have the Security Council. So if the General Assembly is the world's town hall for discussion, the Security Council is its rapid response security team. Its main job is to maintain peace and safety around the globe. Now, the council is made up of 15 members. 10 of them are elected for 2-year terms. But 5 countries are permanent members: China, France, Russia, the United Kingdom, and the United States. And these 5 countries have a very special power. It's called veto power. This means that if just one of those 5 permanent members votes no on a decision, it gets blocked. It doesn't matter if all 14 other members vote yes. As you can imagine, this gives those 5 nations a ton of influence, and it's one of the most talked about parts of the UN's whole structure. But the UN's mission is about so much more than just stopping wars. It's also about actively working to build a better, fairer, and more just world for every single person. The UN Charter itself lays out these 4 main goals. Number 1, maintain peace. Number 2, encourage friendly relations between countries. 3, protect human rights. And 4, promote social and economic progress. It's really a blueprint for a better planet. To help with that human rights mission, the UN created a landmark document back in 1948, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Isn't a law exactly, but it acts as a global standard, a shared goal for how every person everywhere deserves to be treated. And this is really the whole point. The UN offers an alternative to war. Through things like the International Court of Justice, often just called the World Court, countries can settle their disagreements with laws and arguments, not with armies and weapons. Okay, so that's the theory and all the different parts. But what does the UN actually do in the real world, day in and day out? You've probably seen pictures of UN peacekeepers with their iconic blue helmets. Now, their job isn't to go in and fight a war. When the Security Council sends them in, their mission is to create stability, protect civilians, and basically help give peace a fighting chance. The UN is also like a big family of different agencies, and you've definitely heard of some of them. There's the World Health Organization, or WHO, that fights diseases globally. There's UNICEF, which helps children in need. These groups and many others do work that touches millions of lives every single day. And when you look back, the UN's impact has been huge. It played a major role in wiping out deadly diseases like smallpox. It provides food and shelter for millions of refugees fleeing danger. And it's still the main place where all countries can come together to try and solve massive problems, like climate change. Now, the UN isn't perfect. It faces massive challenges, from political disagreements to the controversy over the veto power. But it is still the only place on Earth where every single country has a voice. It was born from the rubble of war with the incredible hope of building a better world. Which leaves us with a final, crucial question. As our world keeps changing, how must the UN evolve with it?